How's everyone going? This is Dylan with the SDR Whisperer. We're doing a student spotlight today. One of our best and brightest here, Chris, here to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, how we've helped, and where you're currently at in your sales career. So it's great to see you, Chris. A little bit of background on who you are, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so I joined SDR Whisperer probably about a month ago, and I'm currently on an offer in a PR firm as an appointment setter, and I'm also kind of halfway through the process of getting on another offer as more of a hybrid role. And before that, I was actually in the cannabis industry for probably 10 years as an owner-operator and kind of dialed in people's systems and kind of worked in that industry.
Awesome. Where did you get in as a user?
Actually not, the other way around. I met a contact and he said he thought I was showed some promise and let me get into his business, and I started from the bottom and kind of moved up to eventually buying his business from him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It was MTG Genetics. So
MTG Genetics.
Yeah.
So was it like a dispensary or like a grower?
Yeah, no, it's honestly a mountain. So it was it first started out as a big outdoor operation. It was out in Northern California. And then they had seeds and stuff that they did as well. But it was honestly back in the bootleg wild days for sure.
Nice. Yeah, it's so regulated now. One of my cousins, she's up in Maine, and she has a growery, and she then sells it to dispensaries.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I'm 31, right? So I was around when it was not okay to smoke it, and it's changed. It's changed so much. You can walk down the street and smell it. And it's no one cares anymore. It's funny how things change. So you they actually did the genetics of the strands. So you were
yeah, they're big breeders. So that was kind of what they did. They were breeders, and then they needed somebody to take over. They were kind of getting older, and they needed somebody to take over the production side, which is kind of backbreaking work, especially that far out in the woods. So I kind of
and Wi-Fi up there, right?
No Wi-Fi, man. No, you'd watch people freak out up there because they'd come up there to work, and there would be no phones. We would be on DVDs. You know what I mean? It's 100 degrees, so definitely taxing.
There you go. Are you still doing any of that, or is that completely done, right?
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there.
Is it completely done? Your involvement with the business?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's been years now. I was in California, and then I moved up to Oregon and kind of did similar stuff for people that were trying to optimize indoor grows. So I kind of helped there. And I just kind of got tired of the industry. It's so labor intensive, and it's I guess the biggest reason I started to get into sales was because I wanted location freedom. Yeah. And it's just you're just so tied down to the plant, you know what I mean? And it's I didn't get in as a smoker. I mean, I've obviously partaken a little bit, but
you had to do some groundwork.
Yeah, totally. You gotta test your. It's a cook's got to eat his own food sometimes, but I didn't really get into it as a worshiper of a plant, so it kind of just didn't fit my values moving forward, and I was just ready to try something new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, very interesting. We have a lot of different students. They all have different paths and walks of life, so I always like to get a little bit under the hood there. So you went from buying out a business that you started, now you're on your remote sales journey. How did you really hear about the SDR Whisperer? How did you get in touch with us?
Yeah, so I started lurking on Money Twitter I was probably poking around for 2-3 months, and I was trying to figure out, like I said, what was next. Yeah. And I started to circle around sales, and then it kind of just led me to you. And that's kind of where I got you.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we found each other.
Yeah.
I always think it's Money Twitter is it's a unique niche of Twitter, right? You can go on Twitter, you can go political Twitter. Don't recommend it. There's all these different fantasy football Twitter, sports Twitter, gambling Twitter, money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny because I used to use Twitter for a long time. I I think my account's been like for like 6 years. I did not find Money Twitter until like within this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was on like gambling and sports Twitter.
Yeah, familiar with gambling and sports for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But awesome. And then, you've been lurking around Money Twitter. You probably came across some of my tweets. What really got you to the point to join?
So I mean, like I said, I was lurking, so I was aware of what other offers were out there that were like side by side or whatever, and I just realized after poking around to what you guys actually offered, it was pretty low risk, high reward. Some of the other offers are a much bigger commitment, and I felt like you guys had the three things that you really need, which are like you have the course, which is good, but that only takes you so far because like you can watch a video, you can read a book, it doesn't really move anything if someone's not there to kind of like help correct you. And so like the second part of it is like the weekly calls, which you guys are more than available all the time for. And then the other thing is really the network. Like because I was around Money Twitter, I kind of saw who you associated with. And like part of my big concerns, like getting into it, was there's kind of a lot of scammy offers and you just don't really know if somebody can like deliver. But I knew the people that you were surrounded by that like they were legitimate for sure. And so I figured you had to know the stuff,
Not
had the sauce.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I never really saw what like our knowledge set, me and Jake. Like we really never truly saw it as an info product. Funny enough, Jake came up with the SDR Whisperer, like the coining of it, like years ago. Like he bought the domain like over 2 years ago, I think he said. And it was just a thought. And like since we've connected and became business partners, he told me about it one day. And I was like, you know what? We know a lot about appointment setting and SDR stuff. So I pushed him and pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. And then we finally created the course. And it's awesome, like from our seats, to see individuals such as yourself, right, who have a vast skill set. You've owned a business, you've done a lot of things in your life, and like still being able to help you and like contribute to the amount of money that you can put in your bank account every month. And that kind of leads me like to the next question is like, since joining, right, what are some wins, milestones, things that you feel good about since joining last month and a half?
Yeah, man, I guess the thing I'm proudest of is just hitting the ground running. Because like you can join the community or you can join anything, you can buy any course, and if you like you're not doing anything, it's just not going to work for you. So like I joined, and within a month I'm on 2 offers pretty much, and I've been on that offer for maybe 2 days, and I've done 11 11 appointment sets. Yeah, so I'm still a little rough. I'm still working, but it's just to see money go into the bank account already or get into the win column. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, like that's the great thing about cold calling, right? Is it's like it's instant. Right?
Yeah.
You have that actual conversation, the call gets booked. That's my favorite thing about cold calling. It's direct feedback, right? It's not like you have to send 500 emails and then see if there's responses and like do that whole dance. It's like, boop, objection, overcoming, book meeting. But yeah, 11 in your first a day and a half, 2 days is insane. And you've been busting the phones, right? You said you're doing like a couple hundred calls a day.
Yeah, so they got a predictive dialer, so I'm able to get like they want minimum 200 calls a day, and I'm able to get like in that 200 to 500 range probably is like realistic. I'm still a little slow in like the CRM and like how to note things, and that'll probably, you know what I mean? That kind of slows me down right now, but
yeah, and those are things that you can easily learn. Close is pretty good CRM. But yeah, I think I never had that when I was an SDR. I was an SDR like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was no predictive dialer. I remember we had the local presence that came out. It was a Salesforce plugin. It was super janky. Like it didn't always work. It didn't log the call. Sometimes you're calling the wrong person. Like it'd say you're calling John Smith. You'd pick it up like, hey, John. It's like, yeah, this is not John. You're like, oh, shit.
Okay.
But yeah, like the technology nowadays with cold calling and like AI is insane. The amount of just total volume that you could do. I'm kind of jealous of it. I had to do manual, like one to one.
Yeah.
One to one.
the first day I actually didn't really understand how to work the system, and I was like clicking through the system and just one at a time. And then I
Yeah.
like saw somebody else and they were just whipping through them and they were beating me to every call, and I was like, I'm doing this wrong for sure. So I went back through the SOPs and like I was like, just push this button and you just rapid dial these things.
Wrap it down. Whoever picks up, you get connected with.
Totally, yeah.
Um, yeah, that's insane. Well, awesome, Chris, man. And I, love to see your success. Only just the beginning, right? 2 days in, a month and a half into the actual course in the community. So the sky is the limit for you. Now, if anyone wants to find you, follow you on Money Twitter, or employ you of your services, you loved Chris so much. He is a trained hire, killer for hire. So what is your handle and things like that?
So only on really on Money Twitter, and it's non-linear ascent.
Non-linear ascent.
Yeah,
I'll put that in the description here.
yeah.
And then, yeah, message a comment if you want to work with Chris, and we'll get in touch with you. But other than that, brother, I'll let you have a great weekend. I appreciate you hopping on here, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks a lot. See ya.